Hello friends, Jenkins Dota here, bringing you another Dota 2 video on behalf of DotaAlchemy.com, and this video is going to be on how to be a cold-blooded killer in Dota 2. And what I mean by that is how do you play these heroes where you essentially want to create this atmosphere of there being a cold-blooded killer on the loose on the map. And this is something that Donnie and I talk about a lot in Alchemy Answers, or at the very least we touch on the subject, so I thought I would essentially take a look at a replay of a game that I played today where I did a pretty good job, I think, at being that kill threat on the map as an Earthshaker in a pretty difficult game in terms of we were getting split pushed a lot. We were dealing with a lot of heroes that could outscale us in the late game, and essentially I had to be that kill threat or we would have horribly lost this game if I didn't play well. So let's get into this replay. So here's the replay. So I was playing Earthshaker, here I am, against 3 cores. I was against PL, which is great because Earthshaker loves being against PL. Unfortunately, it was Limp, and he's literally rank 1, so plays that hero pretty well. And we were against a Gyrocopter as a safe laner, and then a Clinks as an offlaner, who actually ended up doing very well in the offlane. So 3 really excellent cores that would most likely outscale us if I did not take this hero and essentially threaten them on the map a lot, reducing their farm potential. So this isn't exactly related to being a cold-blooded killer, you know, at least in terms of you're not seeing me kill anybody, but I think it's important to note that if you're looking to be a kill threat hero in Dota and to be a serious threat, then laning is very important, just because if you take one of these heroes and you don't get a little bit of momentum, if you don't get a little bit of net worth, then nobody is going to be afraid of you. So I wanted to show you guys this lane, just a little bit of it. It was going very well for us. I went for the first point in Enchant Totem, and I tried to deny absolutely everything that I could. Second point in Aftershock, just for harass, because I knew that with the Wind Ranger I could do a lot of harassing. And then the third point in Fissure, just for, you know, blocking off and maybe getting a few kills. But it's very important that if you're playing one of these heroes, you get a pretty decent start. Otherwise, like I said, nobody's afraid of you. So if you want to play one of these heroes in the off lane, you probably want to have a decent support with you. You know, like Wind Ranger is perfect in this scenario. And then, you know, if you're playing in the mid lane, you want a good matchup. If you're playing a cold-blooded killer as a carry or a 4-role, then you want to make sure that you're drafting around other heroes that are going to give you a good start, just because it makes it that much easier, especially when you're dealing with, you know, a tri-core lineup like this, for example, where obviously their late game is superior to ours. We do have a Brood. This hero falls off compared to these heroes. We have a Terrorblade. This hero absolutely does not fall off, but, you know, neither do these heroes. And then we have an Earthshaker, and this hero is more of like a team fighter late game. Okay, so the next thing that I want to show you guys is a play that I made on the Clinks on the bottom lane. There's a few topics that I want to cover here, so I'm going to pause before I show you the individual movements. But essentially, if you look at the enemy team, they have a Phantom Lancer, they have a Monkey King, they have a Gyro who's going to be taking safe farm, and then they have a Clinks who wants to split push tower. So basically their entire lineup, and by the way, this PL, he's not going to want to fight until he gets that heart, because he's against an Earthshaker. So fighting, there's almost no point. He's just going to get blown up. But once he has the heart, he's way more capable of fighting. So I knew that this enemy team, they wanted to split push, they wanted to go late, and then they wanted to outscale us. So what did I need to do? So what I needed to do was essentially be that reason that they were afraid to split push. So you can see that I TP to this bottom lane. A couple of reasons that I did this. Like I said, I wanted to be the reason that they were going to be afraid of split pushing. I wanted to show them that, hey, if you want to push this tower, you have to do it with your friends. If you do it alone, you're going to die. I'm going to be there. At the very least, I'm going to do a lot of damage to you. You're going to have to go back to base. The reason that I do that is because if they come here with friends, we come with friends, we fight them, all of a sudden they're not split pushing, right? That's the definition of split pushing, is doing it separately. If I'm forcing them to be together, I'm doing my job. And then also, I recently came home from King's Cup. I was casting that. I did the SEA portion of that, and I noticed that a lot of SEA teams, they like to defend their towers, especially if they're getting something else on the map. If they have objectives where they know that there's going to be creep waves pushing into the other lanes. So for example, if they have this top tower and then this mid tower, they'll defend their bottom tower with their lives, because they know that the creep creepways are constantly going to be pressuring the enemies, and that they're going to be getting stuff on the map. And if all they need to do is defend this tower, and they're going to essentially win the game. And then also in this game, we don't necessarily have objectives or an objective advantage, but we have a brood farming mid, we have a Terrorblade farming top. So I knew that if me and the supports were defending this objective relentlessly, we'd win the game. We would get so much out of it. We would be able to defend it because it's a tower, because we have good heroes for fighting at towers. And I figured essentially we'd get a lot off the map. So there's a lot of reasons that I was down here. And that's even without the Echo Slime. I wasn't looking for kills. It's not about kills. Dota's not about kills. It's about the movements. It's about the reason that you're doing these things. So I blink in, I use my enchant totem, I use my my fissure, and then I run into the trees. And like I said, there's a few topics that I want to cover here. This next topic, what I'm essentially doing here, running to the trees after using my spells, playing in the trees to the right here, playing very safe in this lane. This is called woodsmaning. Shout out to Lumden for teaching me that little word to use for this sort of play style. And this is something you see our TC do a lot, because this way, if the enemy team goes on me in these trees, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff happening elsewhere, but if the enemy team goes on me in these trees, they have to commit a lot to me. My team can TP in, and then they can either kill the enemy team and I'll die, or they'll maybe even save me. So it's just a really nice way to essentially force the enemy team to go way out of position to get to you. So you can see that the Clinks goes for the tower. Because I'm woodsmaning, he's nowhere near me. I can go back in on him. I was trying to desperately spam ping for my team to come. I believe Windranger had a TP, and Silencer does not have a TP, but that's okay. Windranger would be enough. I thought we could defend this tower, but in any case, it doesn't really matter. I knew that the Crystal Maiden was here as well, and this is kind of another topic that I wanted to cover. So this is something that Donnie and I talk a lot about when we do Dota, the Dota Alchemy Answers, and it's this fact that if your team won't do their jobs, sometimes you just need to keep doing your job to the best of your ability with the cards that you're dealt, or you do their job for them. And essentially in this game, I said, fuck it, I'm going to go in, I'm going to go on this Clinks. I know that even if my supports did TP, we could probably kill the Clinks, maybe defend the tower. And I said, you know what, whatever, I'm just going to go. I tried to fissure so that I hit the CM. I did hit the CM. I get the enchant totem off, and then I go back to woodsmaning, try and just run in the trees, making it so that if they want to go for me, they have to dive, quelling blade as much as I can. For some reason, this Clink sticks around. I think he thinks I don't have Echo because I've been going on him over and over again. And then boom, I Echo him, get a free kill. I don't know why he was there, and then I go back to woodsmaning immediately because I assumed that there's probably a lot of people running at me. I think it was just the CM, but it's best to assume the worst case. So the best thing that occurred in this little engagement was not that I killed the Clinks. It was not that even if I defended the tower, it wouldn't be that I defended the tower. The most important thing about what just happened there was that I did my job. I was putting my presence on the map and making myself known as that hero that will fucking kill you if you try to touch any of my towers. Because that way the enemy team is going to start grouping up. And if they don't start grouping up, well, then I'll kill them and that's good, and my team will kill them and that's good. But chances are, mentally, that Clinks, he's going to be afraid now. The Crystal Maiden, she's going to be afraid. And something that's actually pretty nice to look at in retrospect is you can see that the Crystal Maiden was spamming that Earthshaker is missing. Earthshaker is missing. Be careful. Be careful. So that makes me know that my presence was known in this game. And the way that I did that was through woodsmaning, through defending objectives, even though I didn't have Echo Slam, and just committing to being a pain in the ass for the enemy team, not showing myself, and exclusively showing myself when it was to go for kills. Like, boom, I'm there. You have to be careful because anytime you take an engagement, anytime you try to push an objective, I'm going to be there. So I was avoiding farming lanes this game. I was avoiding showing myself unnecessarily, and I was just being as much of an asshole as I could, running at the enemies when they run at my objectives and punishing them for that. So I talked a little bit at the end of that clip about showing Envision, or more in particular, not showing Envision as a kill threat hero. And this next clip is a pretty nice tidbit, in my opinion, that shows what are the results and benefits of not showing Envision as a kill threat hero. So let me quickly talk about a little bit of something first before we get into this clip, this kill. It's a little confusing for newer Dota players, this idea that you do less to get more off the map. It's very strange, where it's like, really, I could fissure that wave. Well, let's go back a little bit because, of course, I did fissure the wave, but only to kill the Monkey King. But I could walk up and fissure this wave. I could walk up and I could enchant totem this wave. I could walk up and I could right-click this wave, and it would push this wave faster because we want to take this tower, right? So that would kind of make sense in that regard. But the thing is, the reason that this Terrorblade is safe up here, the reason that the rest of the map is not getting pressured is because the enemy team is afraid of where I am. So I know that if I'm not showing, not only is the enemy team not able to see me, so I'm able to make better moves without them knowing, but it's also that they just assume, good players at the very least, will assume the worst for them and assume, okay, this Earthshaker's in my lane. This Earthshaker's about to kill me. So if you look at this Phantom Lancer, for example, he's down here farming jungle. He's not pushing the wave, and the reason that he's not pushing that wave is because I'm not showing. And as a Phantom Lancer, of course, he has to be very, very worried about an Earthshaker. So if we go back up to the top lane, and we watch when this Monkey King jumps in. So the first thing that I want to mention about this play is that the only reason that I'm able to kill Monkey King here is because he doesn't see me. So he is afraid of me, so he jumps in, and then it immediately looks to jump out. He's just looking to defend this tower like I was looking to defend my tower. He was trying to just be as annoying as possible defending those towers, even if it costs his life. So he jumps in, and because he jumps in, I hear the sound, I connect the fissure on him on the wave, and he's not able to jump out. If I was showing, he'd see my fissure, so he would know to go or not to go. He would see if I'm close enough that I could maybe enchant totem him. So he'd have more information available to him to make that play. But honestly, that's not even the most important part about this. The most important part about this play, the reason that I wasn't showing, was because Phantom Lancer was not able to push the wave. He was down here jungling, and now that he sees me because he's a good player, he pushes out the wave. So this is kind of the most interesting thing to me, is that it's totally on the opposing side of the map, and it still has an effect to a good player. So Phantom Lancer knows that I just killed the Monkey King. He sees that I was top, and he assumes, okay, this Earthshaker, if the Earthshaker's a good player, he probably looks to TP bot at some point. So he nukes out the range creep, tries to push this wave as absolutely fast as humanly possible, and then runs immediately to the jungle because I'm not showing. So where I can make a mistake is if I get that kill on the top lane, and then I immediately just run and hit this tower and help my Terrorblade with this tower. What's the point of hitting this tower? You know, the Terrorblade does enough damage. I don't need to do anything. Really, my job is to kill. I'll do a little bit more. Technically, it'll be faster, but as a result, we might actually kill the Monkey King and then trade 1-for-1 for this tower. And what's the point of going for kills if you're just trading 1-for-1 for towers anyway? Wouldn't you rather be the team that's doing less work and getting more towers, especially at tier 2? So I don't show, and as a result, this Phantom Lancer has to go straight back into the jungle, which is not what he wants. He wants to pressure as much as he absolutely can. And his choice to go back to the jungle was absolutely right. I TP'd down here because I figured maybe he'll push up a wave. I know carries like to pressure objectives, and he didn't show. So I immediately blink into the wave to push it out because I can do that very quickly, and then I run to assist my team and go back to that kind of kill play style. So I'll really only try to push one wave, maybe two, depending on if I'm really close to an item or something like that. And watch how the PL plays here. So the Clinks goes on me, kills me because he's double damage, and that hero's bullshit with the double damage. But the PL immediately starts pushing the wave and then runs over to fight. So this guy is playing completely based off of the information that I'm revealing to him because I'm a counter to him, and then also because I'm the kill hero, and he knows that if I'm showing somewhere that he has nothing to be afraid of. If I'm dead, he immediately looks to go fight. There's one final play that I want to show you guys where essentially the enemy team was playing this kind of panic mode where we had taken Roshan, we had killed a couple of them in fights, we were running down the mid lane, and they were going to that split push 2 lanes mode. So I saw that the Clinks was split pushing bot, I knew that the Rox was exposed, and that he was a very greedy player, so I come into the top lane, I show myself very briefly, I stun the PL so he can't cancel my blink, and then I immediately blink out, and I knew with my Aghanim Scepter, if I ran immediately to the Clinks that I could potentially get him as he tries to come onto the high ground and take the racks. I figured if I showed myself top that in the bot lane he would push really aggressively and try to get the racks because he'd think that as an Earthshaker I'd try to deal with the PL. So as a result, he comes up, invis, Silencer places a sentry. Fortunately this time the supports did play with me. I chain stunned him, we were able to kill him, and I think that was extremely, extremely game-winning because the Clinkz had 92 seconds that he was unavailable, so we could just barrel down the mid lane, take any fight possible. The PL had to TP back, and then essentially we'd force them to buy back, and with the Terrorblade, we'd probably get their racks anyway. So I have Boots of Travel, and that's the reason that I was looking to make these plays. By the way, it's another item that you can get that's great on these kill heroes, especially if you're getting split pushed. You can be available at the fights and also be able to do the kind of, dealing with the split push. Phantom Lancer actually ends up dying because the fight just snowballs totally out of control with the split pushing happening, and then heroes getting picked off, and then kind of staggering their TPs back in, dying to the Terrorblade, and essentially off of this one engagement that followed from that Roche fight, we won the game. And this very easily could have been one of those games where we just get split pushed to death, or we go into the late game, we're dealing with this tri-core lineup that we absolutely cannot deal with. So after this point, I believe we force buyback of PL and of the Clinkz, and then the game just gets really, really easy because we have this huge advantage and, of course, the momentum as well.